Did you know that in Tunisia, you can take a therapeutic bath in waters so ancient that they were already used by the Romans? Or that behind its historical ruins, the country is still living through a conflict between traditional values and the pressures of modernity? Tunisia is a place where the past and the present collide in ways you probably never imagined. When we talk about Africa, many think of safaris, jungles, or big metropolises like Lagos and Cairo. But Tunisia, with its stunning beaches and archaeological sites, carries an essence that few people truly know. What happens when a country so immersed in history is forced to modernize and deal with political tension still alive after the Arab Spring? That's what you'll understand today. This isn't the kind of video where we'll just talk about the paradise beaches or the monuments of Carthage. We'll explore what's behind all of this. Want to know why Tunisia is the most unknown country in Africa? Then stick around, because what you'll discover will change your view of this fascinating place. Although Tunisia is located in North Africa on the Mediterranean coast, the country rarely comes up in conversations when we talk about well-known African destinations. When tourism is the subject, most people think of Morocco, Egypt, or South Africa. And Tunisia, despite being the birthplace of some of the oldest civilizations, remains a well-kept secret. Tunisia has more to offer than its golden sandy beaches or the famous ruins of Carthage. In fact, there's a curious contrast between what people know about Tunisia and what the country truly represents. On one hand, it's a popular tourist destination, especially for those looking to relax on its beaches or visit ancient Roman sites. But on the other hand, the country plays a much larger role on the global stage, a central role in Arab history, politics, and even in the struggle for civil rights in the Muslim world. With a population that takes great pride in its heritage, Tunisia has always been a nation in transition. However, it's easy to get lost in its beaches and historical buildings without realizing that under this layer of tourist glamour, there's a constant struggle to balance modernity and tradition. And what do you really know about the impact of recent politics or the cultural clash between younger and older Tunisians? These issues are much more complex than you might think. This seemingly simple country hides layers of history, culture, and politics that few people understand. Tunisia is not just a tourist destination. It's a reflection of modern Africa, a fascinating blend of diversity and transformation. Tunisia is a country where traditions remain alive in daily life, but at the same time, modernity tries to make its way. Perhaps the most surprising aspect for visitors to Tunisia is the deep reverence for cultural traditions, especially in more remote towns and villages. For many Tunisians, their practices aren't just part of their identity, they are a way of life that refuses to disappear. The coexistence of the old and the new is evident throughout Tunisia. In big cities like Tunis, you'll find young people immersed in global culture, using cutting-edge technology, watching Hollywood movies, and dressing in the latest trends. However, in more rural areas, habits remain firmly rooted in centuries of history. Women, for instance, may wear the traditional veil in a village, but when they arrive in the big cities, many choose to adopt a more Western style. These contrasts create a generational clash, where older people resist change, while younger ones seek to integrate into the modern world. Thus, on every corner of Tunisia, you can witness a silent battle between the preservation of traditions and the pressure of modernity. And this cultural tension is actually one of the most striking features of the country. One of Tunisia's biggest surprises is its hot springs. Across the country, there is a tradition that dates back to Roman times, the use of thermal waters as a means of healing and well-being. We're not just talking about spas and modern treatments, but about millennia-old practices that remain alive and are an integral part of the daily life of many Tunisians. These springs, mainly located in the mountainous regions, are famous for their therapeutic properties, said to help relieve a range of health issues, from skin conditions to muscular disorders. What makes these springs even more fascinating is the way Tunisians use them. Many still practice therapeutic bathing without clothes, a culturally accepted practice that dates back to ancient purification rituals. Contrary to what one might expect, this is a common part of life for Tunisians, with no stigma or shame associated with it. What's striking is that while many Tunisians continue to frequent these springs, tourists often ignore this practice. They focus on the beaches, the historical monuments, but rarely explore the rich healing tradition that Tunisia offers. This reflects how the country, in its daily life, maintains deeply rooted habits that are often beyond the perception of outsiders. These hot springs are not just a local secret. They are a testament to how Tunisia preserves its traditions in a world that's moving faster every day. Tunisia is a country in transition. After the Arab Spring, the country faced a series of challenges, not just political, but social and cultural. What we saw in the news as a movement for freedom and change, in reality, left a deep impact on the relations between tradition and modernity. On the streets of Tunis and in the central cities, this conflict is visible at every corner, in discussions about national identity and debates about the role of religion in society. Before the Arab Spring, Tunisia was considered one of the most progressive Arab nations, with relatively liberal laws compared to other countries in the region. Women, for example, had more freedom than in many Muslim countries, with the right to vote and receive an education. However, the revolution brought significant change. While many young Tunisians sought more individual freedom, the entry of more conservative groups and the rise of religious parties called this balance into question. The tension between older generations, who advocate for preserving traditions, and younger generations, who seek a more globalized and modern lifestyle, is palpable. In many Tunisian cities, you'll find a divided society. On one side, urban centers are becoming increasingly cosmopolitan, with high-end stores, modern cafes, and even the emergence of a new kind of urban culture influenced by the West. On the other side, in more rural areas, traditional values still dictate the rhythm of life. The use of the veil, respect for the elderly, and attachment to the customs of past generations remain important aspects for a large part of the population. This struggle between the old and the new reflects a society trying to find its place in a constantly changing world. For many, modernity represents progress and development, but it also brings with it a loss of identity and values. For others, tradition is the foundation of stability and morality, and its preservation is seen as the only way to maintain cultural integrity. Tunisia's future seems to depend on its ability to balance these two forces, something the country continues to seek to this day. Tunisia is a popular tourist destination, but it's also a country with an ambiguous relationship with tourism. Millions of tourists travel annually to enjoy its stunning beaches, the ruins of Carthage, and the colorful markets of Tunis. The tourism industry represents a significant part of the Tunisian economy, but this influx of visitors also brings with it a series of unsaid issues. The Arab Spring, which began in Tunisia in 2010, was a turning point for the country and the Arab world. What started as a series of protests against corruption and political repression quickly turned into a movement that overthrew an authoritarian regime, inspiring revolutions across the region. But the Tunisian revolution didn't end when dictator Zine El Abidine Ben Ali was ousted. In fact, it only began there. Today, Tunisia still deals with the repercussions of that uprising, and the transition to democracy has been tumultuous and complex. While the country has been considered a success story compared to other Arab revolutions, the political reality remains unstable. Tunisia has faced significant challenges in establishing a balance between freedom and order. After Ben Ali's fall, new political parties emerged, with ideological and religious divisions reflecting the tension between democratic values and Tunisia's Islamic roots. What's at stake in Tunisia is not just internal politics, but also the governance model in a Muslim world, trying to find balance between tradition and modernity. The country's main dilemma is its search for a political identity that unites its people. On one hand, Tunisia is trying to strengthen its democratic system with free elections and a new constitution. On the other hand, the rise of Islamist parties and growing religious conservatism threaten the freedoms gained after the revolution. In the streets, you can feel the discontent and frustration of the population, especially among the youth, who expected a different future after the revolution. Despite reforms, poverty remains a serious problem, and many Tunisians still feel excluded from the benefits of democracy. Furthermore, political instability has led to an increase in violence and extremism in some regions, further damaging economic development and security. Tunisia, therefore, lives in a constant struggle between the advancements made in the past decades and the pressures of a transforming world. The country has yet to find a clear path, but the choices made today will determine not only Tunisia's political future, but also its role in the broader context of the Middle East and Africa. The revolution may have started a new era, but the fight for a true Tunisian democracy continues. Tunisia is a country that, at first glance, may seem like a typical tourist destination. However, as we dive deeper, we realize that it is much more than the cliched images of sunny beaches and ancient ruins. Behind every corner there is a story, a tradition, a political dilemma, or a social challenge that shapes the lives of Tunisians. It is a country in constant transformation, trying to balance its rich past with the pressures of an uncertain modern future. Throughout this video, we've explored the contradictions that make Tunisia a unique place, the coexistence of the old and the new, the struggle for freedom and democracy, and the impact of tourism on a culture that is still fighting to be recognized in its entirety. Tunisia is a land of contrasts, a place where ancient hot springs meet the struggles of a society in evolution, where ancestral traditions face the pressures of a world that's becoming increasingly globalized. What's clear is that Tunisia, like many other countries in Africa and the Middle East, is much more complex than the simple narrative often presented abroad. It is not just a tourist destination, it is a nation that continues to redefine its identity amid economic, political, and cultural challenges. And it is precisely this complexity that makes Tunisia a fascinating place worthy of more attention. If you enjoyed this video and want to know more about Tunisia or other equally fascinating countries, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this content with your friends. I'd love to hear what you think about Tunisia. Have you visited the country? What cultural or political aspects do you find most interesting? Comment down below, and let's continue this conversation. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.